for this. Cool. So let me know if you can all see my screen in a second. Can you see it all right?
Yes.
Great.
All good.
Awesome. So this presentation is a bit detailed. It has quite a bit of written information because I thought I could share it afterwards with anybody that needs it, even outside Globant if you can and if you find it useful. It also has information for people that are used to remote working and others that really aren't. So if it feels repetitive, you tell me and I'll skip some slides. So what I'm going to cover is how to set up your remote working day, some remote working tools, working times meetings and workshops, and how to run these online, how to sign out at the end of the day or gathering ideas to do so, some additional Globant tips, and then some questions from you. So setting up your day, I think working remotely comes natural to some people that are kind of self-motivated and others get a bit distracted, but then you get the gist of it and it becomes pretty easy. So a few tips, and happy to hear yours as well. So your home is effectively your working space, so make it feel as professional. It needs to look good on camera, so kind of plain, well-lit backgrounds always work. But also for yourself, play some classical music or just, yeah, make it feel bearable and quiet and distraction-free. Dress up as usual. It's okay to wear a shirt and pajama pants or just, you know, half makeup and then the rest comfy clothes. As long as you look professional on camera, it's fine. But also putting some makeup on and just prepping as if you were going to work helps me getting into mood and being fairly productive as well. It's easy to work 24 hours for a day if you're working remotely, and it's easy not to stop. So be fairly strict with your working hours. I think we're 8 to 5 to match client hours, but if you start at 7, don't work until 9, and try not to take out your computer in the evening as well. And do take breaks or you'll go mad. Plan and organize working day. So I think plan with colleagues and chunk it up and just respect the working hours that you would have normally without making everything blend into a normal life and work day. Get your kit ready. I failed this time. I don't know what Zoom did, but I think if you find your Wi-Fi slow in the morning, or if your headphones are not working, or if you need to restart your Wi-Fi, do it before you start the day so you avoid problems afterwards. Have your camera on by default. I know for some people it's not possible because they're on a desktop, but if it is, it makes every meeting and call feel more personable, and also it forces people to pay attention to you. And you can spot if somebody gets distracted. Set regular morning check-ins. I think we've done this already, both within projects and people that are not working on specific projects, and I think it's working really well. So thank you, Paulette and Joe and everybody that has suggested it. And then be on time and respectful of other people's schedules as well as time zones. So working from home doesn't mean it's okay to take calls at 10 p.m. And if other people want to finish at 5, that's okay as well. So be mindful of that. Ooh, what's happening here? Give me 1 second.
I don't know if anyone else finds this, but on your first point, Robin, about the space, I'm so much more productive using a desk instead of sitting on the sofa working. I don't know, just being on the sofa puts me in relaxed mode.
Does anybody else find any little tips or tricks that work for them?
I feel like I need to move every few hours, to be honest, no matter where I am. If I'm on my desk, I just need to rearrange and go to another room or find another position within the same room. I get really fidgety working from home. This is my 4th location in the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The toilet always seems best for me.
Nice.
That's awesome. Sorry, I just had to refresh the presentation because it hadn't loaded.
That's okay. Just keep the microphone off though, okay?
Sorry?
I was just saying to Dean, if he's in the toilet, just keep the microphone off when he's in there.
Oh, man. Have you guys, well, no, nothing I'm not going to share. There was some video.
Probably microphone and camera.
Okay.
Where's Maru? Maru's outside. You're not allowed outside.
Yes, I am.
Get back in.
Oh, where are you?
Isolate.
You have a swimming pool and
What?
Oh my God.
I can't go.
You cannot be on this call. You cannot be on this call anymore. I'm sorry. If you have a swimming pool, no freaking way. No freaking way.
But I want to be there. I want to be here.
Okay, guys. I'm going to continue. Enough envy for the swimming pool. So some remote tools. You'll notice a trend in this presentation. I absolutely love Miro, so we'll see it a few times. Remote tools. So there is a really good company called Hano. They're a UX and research design company that has been operating for, I think, 6 or 7 years, always fully online. And they're linked throughout the presentation, and they've got lots of cool toolkits. So this one is, for example, an overview of different tools you can use to facilitate online and remote working. And they've got lots of tips, for example, how to set up your cameras, how to make the most of Zoom, and so on. And you can visit it following this link. Here is a number of tools that I consider the basics, and each one is linked to tips on how best to use them. So Hangouts is a given. Zoom seems to be the best video conferencing tool, and I have a page on that. Google Suite is fantastic. If you need to set up an agenda, if you need to collaborate, prepare a slide, but also if you don't have access to Miro or more sophisticated collaboration tools, it's really great. Figure It Out, Pablo Bognar suggested it, and it's just a Chrome add-on that allows you to see all the different time zones. And yeah, keep in mind the people you're working with and what time is for them. Slack, we know it. Miro, we'll hear a lot about it. Miro is similar to Miro. So if you don't have a subscription to Miro provided by Globant, Miro has a 30-day free trial, which we could potentially use in this time period if there is no budget for a subscription. And then good equipment basically has a link to how to think about your microphone, camera, the room you're in, and some tips on making the most of tech when you work remotely. Also, if you're an expert on any of these tools, offer to help others. I had a session yesterday morning with Tim to help him organize a workshop on Miro, and it was not too much effort for me, and it makes life a lot easier. Few tips on video calls, and I fail at quite a few of them. So find a quiet spot and well lit to join your call, have camera on if possible. Make sure your microphone is on and works really well. If you're not talking, maybe mute yourself. And if you, maybe try and avoid making all those little noises like, yeah, or small comments, or if your environment is noisy, just mute yourself. You can have some other etiquette, like raising your hand if you want to speak. If there is lots of people in the call, you can just talk. And thumbs up if you agree with something. And there is a few more tips in the link that's below. So working time. This is about our actual work time and focus time, not when we have meetings or calls or workshops, because I think it's important to safeguard this as much as possible and not feel the need to respond all the time. So here is a few images of people and how they've got their remote working setup.
You all kind of look like you're in the same house.
Yeah, that is true. There's a lot of people with white backgrounds. I don't know if it's a conscious choice or just a bit boring. I don't know. So a few principles, and I'm sure you've got lots more, and I've linked a Miro blog that talks about life hacks to just ace at remote working. The first one, which I find really helpful, but maybe it's best to communicate it, is set your calendar really quickly so that people know when they can contact you and not. So I tend to block myself out working time. I don't normally name it as working time, but I think that could be useful so that people know when they actually need to leave you alone because you're focusing on something. And then if you have meetings and if you have free time, then they can contact you, and also respect other people's calendar to do this. But this essentially makes what you're working on visible, and a little bit like you were people seeing you in the office and seeing that you were very busy or just chit-chatting, and they know when to contact you and when to disturb you. So it's great to be responsive online. I think, Joe, you made this comment before, but it's okay to turn off Slack or set yourself at busy, or maybe just sign out for a little bit, let your colleagues know and say, I'm focusing for 4 hours, or I have blocked 9 to 11 every day. Exxon did this morning. He suggested to the developers to only contact him 2 hours every day, because otherwise he spends the whole day being responsive to Slack messages and phone calls, and it's extremely disruptive. So make sure you use ways to safeguard, big chunks of working and focusing time, and you don't feel the need, because I'm remote, I need to respond to every single message I receive. Live working tools can be pretty much anything, from a spreadsheet to a Google Doc, anything that shows you and other people typing on the same doc. It's a lot more powerful than just speaking to the camera to people. I think we had an example a couple of days ago. We had a fairly complex presentation about a new ways of working, and the guy was just talking to the camera. And about 1 minute in, you get distracted. Like, I find that for myself, I don't know if you agree, but I always think it's best to show something and talk over it. And that just keeps people focused and keeps the conversation a lot more easy to follow and interesting. Now, it's not easy for everybody to work remotely, and a lot of random stuff can happen. We saw it today. So I would say try and be as empathetic as possible. When you start a workshop or a meeting or something new, you might have to explain a few times how it's going to run or how the tool is going to work. And you have to help people along the way, or, understand if people are having issues, if they need a break, if they need to suspend the session. I think general, empathetic and respectfulness can go a very long way, especially if we're trying to almost set ourselves as a digital by default and remote by default company. I think it's quite important to help our clients understand how best to behave online and how to make things as easy and fluid as possible. This one was inspired by Joe. So Joe had a really good idea of have a daily good morning check-in within our small working team. And I think this really makes a difference. It's just chit-chatting and aligning in the morning. And I think it makes yourself a lot more accountable if you have shared with somebody what you're going to work on. It's not really different from a stand-up. Hello.
Ah, sorry.
That's okay. Did you want to say something?
Oh, God.
I'll just keep going. I think it was a...
Thanks.
That's okay. So yeah, setting check-ins makes yourself more accountable because you've committed to doing something throughout the day. And I think it's good to also celebrate success online. And that's why we've set those weird remote working drinks on Friday, just testing how that works and if it can keep some of the spirit that we would normally have in the office. And actually, we tried uploading online the other day. It's kind of weird for the first minutes, then it's okay. So it's not a bad way to celebrate, or if you agree with somebody. So something I keep forgetting is to take a break, and it's not so much a food break, but really a break. Walk away from the laptop, go sit outside next to your swimming pool if you have one, and if you live in Argentina and it's sunny, damn. But in general, just allow your brain to rest. Every couple of hours, try not to set back-to-back meetings, but really breathe, change space, and get a breath of fresh air. Are you taking any breaks? What's happening with you other than food breaks? Because I've heard that a few times.
Dog walking breaks. I could.
Yeah, I literally go out for a walk.
Nice.
Yeah, lunchtime, try and go for like a decent brisk walk, because otherwise you just
get some fresh air.
Day.
It's only if you're allowed to do so. If they close you off, guys, that's something you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
So where exactly are you walking, people?
Well, the fact is they are talking about shutting down anybody going outside, aren't they? So,
yeah.
I thought they said they're definitely not going to do that, but
no, they keep on changing their minds. Though, I think the point is get away from your PC for even if it's just for 5 minutes, and actually just take a break, whether that's getting a cup of coffee, tea, whatever, but just away from your PC.
Mm.
Give me 1 second because Aurelie is asking to join and she's unable to do so.
Or just going to the toilet.
No, I just do that while I'm sat at my desk.
Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to let Aurelie access again. I don't know how she...
It's far more effective. Get more work done with a commode.
Okay, I think she's in. Cool.
Oh God, sorry guys, have you heard me swearing in French?
Nice glasses.
So funny.
Aurelie, you're on the spot then. What's your way to take breaks? Are you taking breaks?
I've been using, I was really happy to find that the Calm meditation app has provided free resources. So there's things like mindfulness, but also if you start feeling anxious or stuff like that for whatever reason, there's stuff for emotion. So I've done that this morning before starting work, and
cool.
Just going out the window, take some air.
Yeah. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's continue. Unless somebody else has any special tips for breaks. Do you have any tips not to eat, by the way, to avoid going to the fridge every time you take a break? Because Joe and I seem to have a real problem with that, given houses are fully stocked.
Robin, having been
other than
isolated-
willpower.
Sorry?
Maybe
having
just
been staying in for 9-10 days now, I think your appetite starts adapting at some point. You like, I don't know how everyone is going to react to it, but I'm much less hungry, snacking less, hungry for the main meals, but snacking less definitely after some time.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I hope it happens to me as well.
And
maybe
definitely
just eat
picking more
fruit
alcohol.
candy instead.
Yes, more alcohol.
Yeah, the G shelf behind you, Joe. It's kind of dangerous.
But I think anyway, like our instinct are gonna make us do some Russians. Like when you leave a cat flat for some time and they know they're gonna be alone, they eat very little by little.
Well, let's see. Okay, so into meetings. Most of the things I'm going to say here kind of apply to normal meetings as well. But I think there is a few general rules that can help making remote meetings more efficient. So always try and send detailed agendas and questions ahead of time, especially if your meeting or session requires thinking time or defining something together. Try joining calls on a laptop. I think if you can't obviously join on the phone, but having everybody on the same ratio and video makes it feel like you're all in the same room. Keep it short. I think anything above 15-30 minutes might become a workshop or a working session. So don't just run it as a meeting or as a call. And if you actually have to set up regular longer meetings, try to do it less frequently and just when it's necessary. Again, respect time zones. And I think it's also quite important to define some informal agenda-free water cooler meetings where you can just, chill, share, feel like you're in the office and connect with your colleagues. I know we've got the morning meeting that's happening in London, but I think whenever you feel the need also just chat with a colleague and as if you were in the office effectively. And also, I know we don't really do this at Globant, but maybe a meeting-free day would be fantastic. That's like the dream, but I know it's pretty hard to achieve, but increases productivity. Now, to wake everybody up, I would like to propose an exercise. So if you can all turn your cameras towards a place where you can plank and get into a planking position. You can refuse to do this. I'm not going to force you, but if you're happy to do it, if I get a lot of consensus, I would love you to do it. It's only for 10 seconds.
I'm definitely doing it.
I see you've turned off your camera, Dean. So
I'm in a pretty pokey room, so I've not really got the opportunity, but I'll happily watch you guys get in a plank.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, I've got to bottle this one.
Okay, I see a few more people getting ready.
I'm gonna go back to the Lloyd's interview. Ciao.
Ciao. Oh, I hope this was not the reason why you left.
No, it's starting now. Sorry.
Okay, if you're all in planking position, I'm gonna put the counter on. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Great work.
Paulette, go Paulette.
Yeah, great work.
Paulette, do some press ups.
One push up.
There we go. Look. Fair play.
Thank you.
Mary, it must be awful for you next to your pool.
Yeah. Awesome. So I hope that woke everybody up. But quite important to exercise. I saw we shared our mindfulness weekly training. And I was wondering if you guys had any other home exercising tips to share. I know quite a few people are doing yoga.
A quick stretch is really good.
I was going to say stretching as
shoulder
well.
and leg stretch. I find where I haven't got like a proper desk or I forgot to bring my laptop stand home, stretching your shoulders helps quite a lot because, yeah, my kitchen table is destroying my neck and shoulders.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, other than the shower in the morning, that wakes me up if it's cold.
Oh, so fair enough. That's a really good one. Awesome. So workshops. Again, we see Miro. This is a trend. So a few tips for workshops. I've divided into prepping, facilitating, and wrapping. So the preparation of workshops is usually pretty long, but running online workshops requires a bit more preparation because you can't as easily pick up or sketch things along the way. So you can develop an agenda collaboratively on Google Docs. Always consider participants' ability because this really influences how you set up your session and what tools you use as well. So if you're working with clients that are not that digitally savvy, then maybe avoid a very complex Miro setup. You might choose some Google Slides, or you might even just use a spreadsheet, as long as you've got something collaborative that meets their abilities. Think how to run each agenda item. So I tend to split each agenda item in a board. So here to the right, you see, for example, this gray square. It's a board on Miro. And if you divide each task as if you would with a sheet on the wall, you can do this online within Miro, and then clearly number it and put a big title so that you're moving from station to station exactly as you would physically. Designing and sketching online is really hard. So what I found works is basically splitting sessions that require online co-creation in 3 parts. So the first part is an intro where you can share knowledge required to sketch or ideate on something, and the purpose of the session and the purpose of the sketching exercise. Then you can break it, give some time to sketch on paper or thinking time or individual working time, and then regroup either the same day or the day after, where people can upload their ideas online or maybe paste them directly into Miro, and they can share everything that they've created and have a conversation on it. So splitting the work in this way often helps more than trying to design something together online, which is quite tricky. Simplify. So maybe we use sometimes, for example, I use services and tools that can be a little bit complex and have quite a lot of entries when I'm doing physical workshops, but online, it's a matter of using mostly boards and post-its and pre-made post-its that people can just copy and paste. So I think keeping it as simple as possible makes things a lot more efficient. And then prepare ahead. So prepare one board with the agenda, one board with learning material that people have to read. You might also prepare, similarly to how we did last week for the sustainability session, a Google slide with pre-made little squares with text that people just copy, paste, and edit, because this makes things a lot more fast, and people don't have to think about how they create a post-it or how they type in it and so on. So just simplify as much as possible what they actually have to do online. Test your setup and structure. You might want to test how complex a workshop is and if it fits within the times that you've assigned to it, or if you choose to do a video chat within Miro or Hangout and then your client can't access it. You got to check that beforehand. And then share your workshop tools ahead of time. So make sure that people can familiarize with whatever you're doing. And you can even send an email saying, I'm going to use Miro. These are some quick tips on how to use it. I will also recap in the session and I will answer any questions before we start, just so that they get on it and they're comfortable with it. Any questions so far?
It's not necessarily a question, more of a comment. Just on using Miro, I think was it Sandra yesterday on the call that mentioned on Excel you can throw in a bunch of cells and they get put in with individual post-it notes. I thought that was quite an interesting and useful tip. And also if people are more comfortable with spreadsheets and they'd like to comment on that, I think it's a good transition from spreadsheet to Miro.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful. I think you can copy from a lot of tools directly into Miro, which makes it very versatile. But I totally agree with you. That's why, it could be a Google Doc, or it could be that you ask people to contribute in the way they feel more comfortable with, and then you aggregate everything on Miro and you do most of the work.
Totally.
So facilitation. I think it's good to prep by pasting the agenda inside your session, whether it's a Google Doc or it's a Miro, so you can recap on there. You should effectively have everything that's in your workshop in the same document and online space. You can start by welcoming, giving some instructions on how to use the tool you're using. And also, you know, if some participants are uncomfortable or you see that they're not contributing, maybe they're not writing if they're supposed to be writing, or as you say, you know, they prefer spreadsheets over Miro, you can do most of the work. And I think as a facilitator, you would do this anyway, but just offer to be the scribe and to type on Post-its and help them move things around. I think you have to be quite hands-on, but the ultimate goal is to have the main items and insights of the conversation all captured and all visible, and make sure that the people that are less good online still have their voice heard and seen, so that their comments are added to the board as well, even if maybe they're not as fast as others. There is a good timer function with Miro, but you can also do it as I did it before by just pasting a video in a slide, and you can add a timer, and it just keeps people on track. And then evaluate attention levels. I think you have to check in frequently and make sure that everybody's still following and isn't bored or distracted or lost in what you're doing. And if that happens, I think it's fair to say, be honest, and maybe you need to break the session or, you know, rephrase it slightly. I think we're in a moment in time in which we're all experimenting and adapting really quickly. So it's acceptable if we do it first time and then say, actually, we see the session is not engaging, we can restart it slightly differently, and we're gonna, you know, pick back up tomorrow at X time. Wrapping up. So Miro has this really good function of saving the whole board as a PDF, as a series of PDFs. And this is one of the biggest advantages of working online. Effectively, you've got everything already typed up and ready to share. So whether you download or share a Google Doc or a presentation or a number of Miro boards, that's almost ready to go. But if customers and clients are more used to receiving an email, then obviously send some bullet points via email, and always ask for feedback. You do it in a normal workshop, so I think doing it online is just as valuable, especially because for some people it's a new way of working. Any questions so far? Cool. Now, a few tips specific to Miro. And I'm talking about Miro because it was introduced by Guille Ramirez when we were working on Nissan. The main reason why we started it is because we had to set up shared sessions with Japan and with Argentina and with Mexico. And we were using it to set up Globant in a way that remote workers and offsite workers never feel disconnected to the team, and they feel as present as physical ones. Now we're all remote, so this has naturally transitioned to a tool that everybody at Nissan is using. Miro is very, very similar. I'm just not as used to using it, but the functionality is pretty much the same. So a few tips, and yeah, happy to hear if you have a few more tips on the call as well. Basically, there is a number of online tutorials to learn how to use Miro and to improve your skills. I found the easiest thing is to jump on the call with somebody that's new at it and give them a quick, you know, intro tutorial. I've done it with Michael and I've done it with Tim, and that's very fast and it only takes away 10 minutes of your time. So I recommend, if you feeling lost and if you need to use Miro, just ask and I'm happy to show you around. You can use a number of existing templates. So say if you want to run a stakeholder mapping tool or a backlog requirement workshop, or even, I don't know, like a matrix of any kind, you can browse this library of tools and templates and you can paste them into your boards. I still recommend to simplify some of them because they're very colorful, and you can strip them back a little bit. You can also join live chat sessions directly with Miro. I think the connection is not as stable as Zoom. So if you know you've got a weak connection, maybe avoid it. But if you have a good connection, it's really handy because you don't have to swap between two screens. And one user from another, you can take control really easily of the screen, and you can share what you're working on, what you're talking about, and then another person can share and take over. So it's very smooth, and the collaboration happens really, really well within the boards. The way I organize it is one task per board, a little bit like you see here. The green one is one task, numbered with a big title, and then lots of pre-made post-it notes that people can copy, paste, and write on and move around. And there is a little countdown timer. There is a link here to install it, but you can start it every time you've got a task and see the timer in the Miro screen. And also there is a good function, which is a timed voting session. If you see the little toolbar at the bottom left of the Miro screenshot, it's a little thumb up. And if you start that, for example, after you've generated a number of ideas, or if you have put together a number of questions, everybody gets to vote on them for a set period of time, and you can control that. So that's really good if you want to do online prioritization. Two things that came out of a workshop that Mark and Tim ran today. I think it was their first time on Miro. Bluetooth mouse doesn't work really well on Miro. And sometimes if you hit spacebar instead of return, it can cancel the content you've written. So they told me, yeah, share that and be careful about that. Is there any specific questions on Miro, or like I can show it quickly, or if you have any other tips to add or any things you like or dislike about it? No, take this as a no. Okay. Cool. So this is a tip for myself more than people online. I think signing out is quite important, and I tend to forget it when I'm working from home because I don't have a break between office and house. But I think it's a good thing to switch off the notifications. Try not to have, you know, Slack or work WhatsApp group going on in the evening, and really try to disconnect at the end of the day. Because I think that's a danger of working from home, because the space is the same and the time isn't really set by anybody else but you. Do you have any end of the day rituals, end of the day things that you like to do, or how you make sure that you don't continue working in the evening, or are you working in the evening, or more than usually?
It feels very easy just to open your laptop and just check things, doesn't it? Yeah, sort of have been most evenings, but
yeah, likewise. I think it depends on the day, really. But yeah, try and have like a cut-off point of, say, for me personally, like 6 p.m. or something. But yeah, like Joe said, it depends.
For me, like
it's easy to do.
Just planning stuff to do in the evenings as well. Like, none of us have got all this commuting time. We've all got extra time in the day. Make most of it.
That's true.
So you can't work unless you need to.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyone else? Sarah, Jade, Paulette, Kwame?
I think for me, I need to learn when to actually just sign off, because I think I get into the habit of, okay, working, then okay, it's 5:30, take a break, and then check again and start doing things again. So I think I actually need to just get into the habit of, okay, once you decide to log off, just log off.
I just literally just put the lid down on my laptop and move away from, in fact, I just go into another room. I have Netflix, but I won't look at it. I won't do it on my work laptop. I'll do it on my personal laptop, just to make it very separate from, this is for work. My personal one is for relaxation and leisure.
Nice one. Anybody else?
Well, like, you can always center it around your meals. So you see, my wife gets in around about 6 o'clock. So it's a natural time for me to have my meal with my wife, talk in the kitchen. So I think everybody's working environment is going to be different, but that works for me.
That's really nice. Cool. So I've got a few tips that were sent by people that weren't able to join the presentation, and there is basically infinite resources to work remotely. So I hope what I've included, you found it helpful, and there is lots of links throughout the presentations that you can go back and read more detailed tips that are related to either tools or ways of working or things that you're trying to achieve. Already I shared a couple of tools that are related to the climate and design group that was originally set up by Snook. I think they came to do a session at Globant, and they've created a kind of an online guide around mastering remote workshops, which was originally focused on reducing carbon footprint, but it's very valid in this case, and you can access it following these links. And then Aurelie also highlighted that Miro board that you can see here, that basically has a number of real life questions and how they've been answered in terms of real problems of running workshops online, lots of additional tools, as well as online resources like learning articles and ways to communicate, facilitate, and prep. And then we have a few more tips that are specific from the HSBC account from Shrikant. And I think they're really valid in the management of Slack. So for example, creating Slack groups for each domain and topic, as well as documenting as much as possible on Confluence to avoid, video calls for making any decision. And I think that is valid for any remote working tool. So if you document well, and if you expose your work as much as possible, and if you give visibility, you can avoid a lot of calling and explaining, which makes it a lot more productive. Respect time zones. And he's saying, so lack of planning on your side does not imply urgency on my side, which I think is something really good to keep in mind. One very specific to pull requests. I don't think I can understand that one, but maybe one for Steven and the more tech guys. So make sure the pull request is small, it's reviewed completely in one go, and every comment has a detailed description and possibly a solution, and how you would like to see the result, and stay polite. And then, don't assume something is obvious, that it doesn't need an explanation. I think this is a really good point, and working remotely, sometimes communication can feel disconnected. So just be kind and pick up and explain as much as possible, and give visibility to your work as much as possible. This is the end. I hope it was helpful. And do you have any questions or comments or feedback?
This was great.
That was
I really enjoyed it.
This is amazing.
Really
Thank you very much.
It was good.
So I went
and it's
fast.
nice to see you all.
Oh, it is nice. That's Gina. Who was that?
That's Mary.
Oh, I confused your voice.
Yeah, I know you ignore me because I have a pool here, but
oh yeah,
on.
that's it. Unbelievable. Does anybody have any specific question or issues they've had so far, or maybe you've got some something you've planned to do and you don't really know how to do?
A little tip that I've actually stolen from you, Robin, and I think you mentioned it on the calendar, where you block out your working tasks. That's really useful, and I found myself to actually understand and break through my day a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. But just kind of a really weird question. If I was, because I know other people can see my calendar, but if I set different colors, because that's how I determine what my meetings are and what my tasks are, can someone else see that?
I don't know. We can do a test. I don't think so. I've simply written working time.
They can't see colors. Okay, cool.
No.
Okay.
But you can write like WT, working time,
exactly.
or something like that.
Yeah. But no, that was it for me. Nerdy calendar question.
Anything else? Or if I missed something, or... Cool. If there is no more questions or comments, then it was basically it. I thank you for your time. And feel free to get in touch if you need to use any of the tools mentioned. And I'll share this presentation on Slack, and it's attached to the link invitation as well.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Bye. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
9 o'clock. See ya.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.